Well, hello, and a warm welcome to all of you joining the July Triangles webinar. And of course, a special welcome to those who are new to the Triangles work and the daily service of working in and with light. 2025 is proving to be a very challenging year for international relationships and in many other ways as well. And it's times like this that it's so important to visualize the Triangles network as one great station of light across the globe, distributing that light into human consciousness. It's interesting to note how many triangles are being formed now, with the 3 members of the triangle stationed in different nations. And this all adds to the sense of the one humanity and the one world. In the book Esoteric Psychology 2, we read that the etheric body of every form in nature is an integral part of the substantial form of God Himself. So this is a rather wonderful way of looking at the world, one where form or manifested body, no matter how small or insignificant, has a role to play within the mind of God. It spurs us on to consciously build a lighted house on earth for all life forms to thrive. The etheric, which is the precursor to the physical, is said to make all relationships possible. It relates the individual to the planet, to the solar system, and beyond. So vast streams of energy circulate through the universal energy field to galvanize manifested forms into activity of some kind or another, according to the nature and power of whatever energy is dominating the etheric body at any time. So Triangles is a daily means of revitalizing the planetary etheric structure with light, imbued with love and spiritual power. In one sense, we can relate the Triangles network to the well-known symbol of the tree of life, which is found in various religions, mythologies, and cultural traditions, representing interconnectedness, personal growth, and the cyclical nature of life. It often symbolizes the connection between heaven and earth, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and the source of all life. In esotericism, the tree of life is depicted with the roots above and its branches, flowers, and leaves growing downwards. We can imagine the roots of the tree existing in the kingdom of soul, and the flowering forth into objectivity and fruition is to be seen on the physical plane. So the Triangles network is comprised of those who tend to the tree, seeing that the nourishing of the roots is proceeding as it should and reaching the outermost branches so that the leaves may flourish, the flowers may blossom, and the fruit may ripen all over the physical world. So the tree of life must flourish in all kingdoms of nature, human and subhuman. The light that we pass through the soul to illumine minds and etheric bodies has a vital role to play in the upliftment of the lower kingdoms of nature, for whom we are learning to take responsibility. And this spiritual light has an automatic effect on the lower kingdoms, as a consequence of the lighted energies we bring in through meditation and release into the network. But, as we know, Nature is in crisis as never before, partly because of destructive human actions. As a Chinese proverb warns, unless we change direction, we are likely to end up where we are going. Fortunately, there seems to be growing awareness as well as action to try to redress the imbalance in nature and to actively nurture the wonderful biodiversity of life on Earth. And this biodiversity is in part the result of the many different environments to which species have adapted. But it is also difficult to escape the conclusion that it is a result of the sheer exuberance of life itself, showing the amazing ingenuity with which life finds multiple answers to the question of survival. And from an esoteric perspective, of course, the very rocks and stones are themselves alive and come in a tremendous diversity of forms. And humanity has recognized this diversity since earliest times and has learned to adapt to this phenomenon. For example, indigenous peoples' knowledge of plants and animals in their locality is cyclopedic. Partly this is due to many uses which they make of them, and partly to an enlightened attitude towards other life forms, and understanding that human fate is intimately interwoven with that of other creatures. And it is this attitude that has been, until very recently, largely absent from Western civilization, although it's beginning to resurface in areas such as creation spirituality. So humanity needs to adopt a perspective of kinship, seeing all species as fellow pilgrims in life's mysterious journey. Thinking of animals and plants as our sisters, brothers, and cousins may seem strange, but it's a view shared by St. Francis of Assisi and Native American spirituality. And just as we view diversity in culture as desirable, so too should diversity of life be seen as important for its own sake. Each expression reveals something more about the nature of divinity, and every species lost is a missed opportunity for communication and communion with the universal mind. So this takes the concept of biodiversity out of the realms of scientific abstraction into the realms of spiritual significance. And as such, it becomes a responsibility of us all to honor and defend it. So our role is as a macrocosm to the microcosm of the lower kingdoms. And this is being recognized consciously or unconsciously by many today. The current imbalances in nature, as much as is within our own mental and emotional bodies, are also being acknowledged. The exact points of balance and equilibrium shift constantly and depend on many factors, such as environmental circumstances, an organism's purpose within that environment, and so on. So the continuing disturbance and rebalancing of internal equilibrium is part of a dynamic process of adaptation, which is natural to living organisms. And in this, humanity plays a synthesizing role. So this emphasis of the lower kingdoms links to today's talk, which our speaker, Eva Sater, will be presenting on the light that has always been, with particular reference to light and the plant kingdom. But before we hear from her, let's go into our reflection on the Great Invocation. It is link in thought as a soul, as a point of love and light, with people throughout the world who are part of the triangle service work. Visualize the world situation as best you can and see people everywhere glowing with a dim light, and here and there points of brighter light where men and women of spiritual intention and of loving hearts are working for their fellow human beings. Visualize through the creative imagination the vivid light of the spiritual kingdom streaming towards humanity and slowly merging with the light which is already in humanity. Sound the first stanza of the adapted Great Invocation from the point of light within the mind of God. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. Ponder upon the reappearance of the coming world teacher. Realize that no matter by what name he may be called in the many world religions, he is still the same great identity. Reflect and speculate upon the possible results of his appearance. say together the second stanza of the Great Invocation. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. Endeavor to concentrate your fixed intention to serve and to spread love in your surroundings, and realize that insofar as you can do these things, you are attempting to blend your personal will with the divine will. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. We dedicate the threefold personality to the working out of the divine plan. Thank you, everyone. Well, now it's a great pleasure to introduce you to Eva Sater, a triangles worker for many years with us, and she lives in Sweden. And Eva, perhaps now you can unmute yourself.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, just
Yes. Yes.
speak again.
Okay.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear.
You
Can
can
you hear
hear.
me?
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Lovely, Eva. Please go ahead with your talk.
Okay. It's lovely to be here with you today, and thank you, Chris, for your beautiful and rich introduction. It's
Thank you,
lovely to
Eva.
have, yeah. It's lovely to have this opportunity to share some thoughts with you today on light, with particular reference to light and the plant kingdom. Humanity has a great responsibility toward the evolution of the lower kingdoms of nature and in helping these lives evolve. And so it's relevant to reflect on how our triangle service, with its evocation and distribution of soul light, relates to the natural world, in this case, the plant kingdom, as well as to the upliftment of the human kingdom. First, it is inspiring to recall the prophecy that the Christ will fuse and blend within himself three principles of divinity. And when he appears, the light that always has been will be seen, the love that never ceases will be realized, and the radiance deep concealed will break forth into being. We shall then have a new world, one which will express the light, the love, and the knowledge of God in a crescendo of revelation. End of quote. These are the three divine principles which we are attempting to visualize and circulate in our triangle service and build into a flourishing network of distribution. Light is the path for his planned work of bringing love and radiance into the world. Focusing on this first principle, the principle of light, it can be refreshing to turn one's eye towards the plant kingdom and see the light reflected through this kingdom, since their life is dependent on light received from the sun. Photosynthesis, the chemical translation of sunlight and air into coal-based sugar and oxygen, is after all that which expresses the creative genius of this kingdom. Photosynthesis, which the cyanobacteria brought to the algae, and the merging of cyanobacteria and algae has been such an evolutionary success that the vegetable kingdom which grew out of this collaboration between two different organisms has been spiritually recognized to be the one gift that the planet Earth has given the solar system so far. The story begins, quote, 1.5 billion years ago, an algae-like cell swallowed a cyanobacteria. That algae-like cell was the early organism from which both animals and fungi would later evolve, and the cyanobacteria is an ancestor of the unthinkable diverse bacteria that flood our world today. But together, they were the start of a new branch of life entirely, afloat in the murky waters of the Precambrian. This single sentinel of a new kingdom began to photosynthesize. It took sunlight and alchemized the spare materials of its environment, water, carbon dioxide, and maybe a few trace minerals, into sugar. End of quote. This is a quote from the brilliant and suggestive book, The Light Eaters, The New Science on Plant Intelligence, by environmental journalist Zoe Schlanger. Here she tells the drama of creation in a new way, finally weighing and following up on both sides of science. On one side, there are those scientists who argue that plants have intelligence and agency, and on the other side, there are those who argue against it. From this and her own study of plants, she's wrestling a vision of the future of plant life. This vision is open to give plants legal status so that they can be heard and be given a voice for protection from extinction and the destruction of entire ecosystems necessary for their survival and further evolution. She argues, together with many scientists in the field of botany and evolutionary ecology, the plants have agency. The word vegetable has been used as a word for brain-dead human beings, but the root meaning of the verb vegetare means to animate or enliven. Vigere was the very state of being alive, being active. The activity of plants and their behavior are now studied by behavior research teams, and the same study design which has been used for animals can be applied to plants in almost all cases. There are even personality research going on with sagebrush. Agency can be defined as flexibility in behavior, which plants no doubt have. In spite of their immobility, they can respond creatively to the environment and provide for their own need to grow, regenerate, and survive harsh conditions with the production of a great variety of chemical compounds that attract or repel as the need may be for the moment. By interior regulation of the pressure in the veins in different parts of the root system or other parts of the plant, they can stimulate growth or provide for a non-productive part that cannot photosynthesize enough for the well-being of the whole plant. The divide between scientists and philosophers in the Western world can be traced back as far as the ancient Greek philosophy. Aristotle placed in his ladder of life Scala Naturae, plants on the bottom and humanity at the top. Aristotle argued there were no intelligence nor sensation at the bottom. Wandering up, he gave animals sensations. Rationality was kept at the top for humanity, for the instrumental use and rule over the natural world, of giving up earlier ritual acts to have peace with and show deference to the elements and the non-human creatures. It was Aristotle's thought model that came to dominate the natural sciences and Western morality. And as we all know, this hasn't changed much, but there were exceptions. Aristotle had an outstanding student named Theophrastus. When Aristotle died, he left his school to Theophrastus, who had a special interest in plants. He published the first known book about plants and their behavior. Plants, he wrote, were not passive, but were constantly moving, seeking after their desires, and they showed both likes and dislikes. Also, Charles Darwin, after his On the Origin of Species, dedicated his interest to plants. Together with his son Francis, he observed their movements, why they moved and the way they did it, and considered plants as subjects that had activity and purpose. He studied their root systems and the incentives for growing roots in one direction or the other. He found that the tip of the root cap, functioned as a brain that could sense moisture, nutrients, obstacles, and dangers, and direct the growth of the root from this information. He called the root cap a root brain, something which no botanist at that time believed in. Since then, modern science has collected more evidence that plants are sensitive to touch, to hearing, vision, have memory, and can perform intelligent social behavior, even though they cannot explain how they do it. They are alert, awake to the world, spontaneous, responsive, collecting information and making constant decisions of how to act for their survival. They are communicating across complex family relations and with other species. To give a very few brief examples of agency, plants like tobacco, sagebrush, red alders and willow, respond specifically and exclusively to the sound of its predator, for example, the chewing of a leaf-eating caterpillar. The sound triggers the plant to create chemical compounds that can sicken or kill the caterpillar. Other sounds can make the same plants fight off harmful fungi infections or begin to prepare for drought conditions. Plant roots can hear the sound of running water under the dirt and orient its growth towards it. In the light spectrum, plants absorb the red and the blue wavelengths. The green we see in a plant is the wavelength they do not absorb but reflect back. This is also used by plants when they decide the size and quality of a nearby plant and adjust their height in order not to relegate a close family member to exist in the shade. Botanists have found various light receptors in plants, so plants can evaluate the change in the color and quality of the sunlight and see if and where the light has passed through a nearby plant. Plants have evolved kin recognition. If sunflowers are grown in rows packed together, they avoid growing roots aggressively at patches in the soil with high nutrition. Instead, they adjust the growth of their root systems to leave nutrients to their siblings. They tilt their stalks at alternating angles, not to shade their kin neighbors. There are many more examples of social behavior that give a sound proportion to the old belief that plants always compete aggressively for food and sunlight. Plants can adjust to complex variations in their habitat and show true social skills. Due to our modern lifestyle, it is rarely remembered nor gratefully acknowledged that plant kingdom is an older brother without which our life on Earth would not be possible. We could not exist without their ability to photosynthesize light and carbon dioxide. Neither animals nor humans would be able to find sustenance or build bodies. Compared to the vegetable kingdom, the human kingdom is an infant and therefore vulnerable because we cannot survive without our brother. They preceded us and now amount to 80% of Earth's living matter. Scientists calculate that due to photosynthesis, there are more living cells in the world than grains of sand or stars in the sky. When we take the next evolutionary step as a human family, we will not be alone. We have hitherto been working in codependence with the lower kingdoms of nature. We share the light from the sun, the qualities that has built the minerals in the earth, the water, the oxygen plants breathe out into the atmosphere, and the coal-based sugars the vegetable kingdom produces, which is making it possible for plants, animals, and humans to grow bodies and find sustenance on the earth. Our dedicated attention in the triangles to the divine energies synthesized by the Christ at the center of each triangle answers to the call of the human kingdom to draw nearer to the hierarchy. We might see the exuberant and creative biodiversity of the plant kingdom as a prevision of the spiritual creativity and ingenuity that a soul-infused humanity will be capable of creating from a fusion with the kingdom of soul, light, and love. In spite of being the more evolutionarily immature of the two kingdoms, we are on the verge of giving birth to the Christ principle of love, wisdom within the human consciousness, and therefore to the coming into manifestation of one more kingdom in nature, the fifth kingdom, the kingdom of souls. Our work with triangles is laying the etheric foundation for the coming externalization of the spiritual hierarchy on the material plane. Sometimes, and perhaps when it's least expected, it happens that we are struck by wonder. The plant kingdom can give many such moments, but so does the spiritual world. I would like to close with a section from a poem with the title Wonder by poet May Bersenbrugge. Like Zoe Schlanger, she balances delicately between scientific observation and a spiritual vision in dialogue with the world, which to her includes the land, plants, and the stars. Wonder. One summer night, walking from our house after dinner, stars make the sky almost white. My awe is like blindness. Wonder exchanges for sight. Star by star comprises a multiplicity like thought, but quiet, too dense for any dark planet between. While single stars are a feature of the horizon at dusk, caught at the edge of the net of gems. Transparence hanging on its outer connectedness casts occurrence as accretion, filling in of extravagant, euphoric blooming. Then, being a spirit in matter is known, here to there. I go home and tell my children to come out and look. The souls of my two children fly up like little birds into branches of the Milky Way, chatting with each other, naming constellations, comparing crystals and fire. They exclaim at similarities between what they see in the sky and on our land. So by wonder, they strengthen correspondence between sky and home. Earth is made from this alchemy of all children, human and animal, combined with our deep gratitude. This poem made me think of when our triangles and the planetary network can be seen through etheric vision in the future, when its dynamic transmitting light will be revealed as a wondrous creation. In the same way that plants have evolved the genius to alchemize light from the sun, we have the creative genius to seek out every ray of light from the soul, from the heart of the sun, and higher still as our spiritual creativity evolves. And in the process, we will not only give form to a new kingdom on earth, but also to a new culture of the soul and a more enlightened civilization. In preparation for this, we serve and build and pray for the love that never ceases and for their radiance deep concealed to break forth. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Eva. That was just full of such inspiring observations about the vegetable kingdom, particularly the plants, obviously. And well, there's just so many things for us to discuss. I love the fact that plants are going to possibly get legal status to protect them from extinction. And, there's just so many lovely things. And agency, all the things you said about their agency that shows such intelligence. Of course, it's instinctual, but it's, as you say, there's memory, there's responsiveness, there's activity going on all the time, and protection of each other. it's just a beautiful story, and we seem to be learning more and more about it. So thanks for sharing all of that information with us.
Thank you for the opportunity to do it. There's so much
Yeah,
to say about this agency, but I'm not sure where to begin. Um,
sorry, I didn't hear that last bit, Eva.
okay. There's so much to share about the agency of the plants, and I'm
Yeah,
not really sure where to begin.
absolutely. It's astonishing, really, and it's funny how there's so much interest in light in relation to plants now, and so many authors and scientists, biologists. It's really opening up a whole new world for us.
Yes, and I think we need to have more attention on this because as we still depend on it, and um, there there is also this di- uh, division between scientists that is also not really about plant life because it's so obvious that they have agency, that they have intelligence, but uh, it's more like it's about what we think of reality when we take stand for against plant intelligence and plant behavior. So um, it has to do with which reality we think we have and what worldview we have, really. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
mm,
Eva, I just want to say quickly, if anybody wants to raise their hand and either ask a question or perhaps they just have a comment to make of their own, we'd love to hear from you. Um, it's interesting to also to link some of these things in with um, esoteric understanding. You know, we were saying that humanity at one stage, I think, suggests is less advanced than the plant kingdom in the sense of looking at it within its own evolutionary cycle as a kingdom of nature. It's actually attained harmony because it has three energies that are active in it which have produced attractiveness, perfume, um, and all of these. It's like having your soul and your spirit completely working on your behalf in the vegetable kingdom. It's a beautiful kingdom that we are automatically attracted to and drawn to. And it's interesting to see the esoteric understanding of that, you know, of these rays that have a perfection in this kingdom which is said to be unparalleled than any other. So, John Horan, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for an incredible talk, Ava. I'm it's hard to even express myself. Bioluminescence. Um, there are some plankton that fluoresce at times or when they're disturbed by the passage of a ship in water. I know there are also certain species of fungi that are bioluminescent, that glow in the dark. And I was wondering what thoughts you may have about that as they literally radiate light from the plant kingdom out into the world.
it's, uh, I don't know very much about that, but I heard something very interesting thing about a slug that is a sea slug, that when he eats cyanobacteria, it doesn't go out from the body, it stays in the body, and that slug starts to photosynthesize, and it doesn't need to eat anymore. So it takes the shape of a green leaf, like a shelly, and starts to like harvest sunlight and stop to eat other things. So there are so many things that that is possible. But I'm sorry, just bioluminescence, I have not been looking into that very much.
Well, neither have I, but it caught my attention.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Thank you, John. Anybody want to share anything else before we move on to our meditation? It's as you said, Eva, it's opening up a new reality to people, all this research and examination that's going on now. And we're beginning to sort of listen to other species, just broadening our whole concept of evolution and our responsibility to it. We've got one more person, Ellie. Ellie, please go ahead.
Hi, I just was reminded, what a great talk, first of all, and a fascinating subject. I remember the early Kirlian photography, and there were studies being undertaken about plant sentience and do plants feel pain, and there were always, you could clip a plant and there'd be a residual energy field. Another thing that came to mind was the singing trees or the singing forest at Damanhur, which you can look up on YouTube, has some lovely videos where they basically provide electromagnetic frequencies into a form that the trees can actually sing and communicate with their human audience. And then last couple things that came to mind were, I'm a big fan of the Jane Roberts and CEST material, and CEST insisted that trees that we commonly see actually recognize us. And yeah, so if you talk to a tree, the tree is hearing you. And oh, there's one other thing, but I'll type it in if I remember it. What a great talk, though. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ellie.
Oh, I know what it was. That the esoteric general view is that plants volunteered to nurture humanity. They chose that role willingly. So that in and of itself is worth pondering as well. Okay, much love. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ellie. Well, we need to go into our final meditation now. Eva, did you want to say anything to close?
I don't think so. No, it's fine.
Sorry?
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I can just, on behalf of everybody, thank you for all that research and all the inspiration you brought us through it, and linking it into the alchemy of light that the plant kingdom did so well with photosynthesis, amongst other things. So thank you. Well, we're going to go now into our final meditation, energizing the planetary network of triangles. we come together as a group unity on the mental plane. Identifies a soul with the world group functioning through 3 planetary centers, London, Geneva, and New York, as a triangle of light. Extend identification through the soul to the new group of world servers, to the hierarchy, and to the Christ, the transcendent point of synthesis at the center of every triangle, and the triangle of energies standing behind the Christ. Identify the center Shambhala, the center of purpose and power. Recognize the synthesis of 3 streams of cosmic energy within Shambhala, where the will of God is known, and use the dedication, the affirmation of the will. In the center of the will of God I stand. Naught shall deflect my will from his. I implement that will by love. I turn towards the field of service. I, the triangle divine, work out that will within the square and serve my fellow men. You visualize a network of lighted triangles underlying the entire outer world of physical life and events. And we see the network linking all triangle units and relating all points of light throughout the world. relating the world of spiritual realities, the hierarchy, to the world of experience, humanity, and acting as a channel of distribution within humanity for the spiritual energies pouring through the hierarchy. Transforming the planetary etheric vehicle to receive and circulate the energies of the soul and the triad, will, love, light. Realize that the energies of light, love, and the will to good, evoked by all triangle workers, pulsating through the planetary network of triangles, are having an inevitable effect within the three worlds, mental, emotional, and etheric, of human evolution, lifting human consciousness and helping to create the path of light for the feet of the Christ. Reflect on the purpose, function, and right development of the triangles network as a hierarchical activity. blended with the group, stand with positive intent as a station of radiant light within the network of light and goodwill. Sound, the adaptive gratification, directing the triple energies through the triangle's network and throughout the consciousness of humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening.